Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very excited to be here today. And before jumping onto our presentation, I would like to ask one question. Can you guess what percentage of the world population in 1990 that have mobile phones? So the answer to that question is less than 0.2%, which means in 1,000 people, only 2 people have mobile phones. And within nearly 3 decades, this number went from 0.2% to more than 50%, which is fast. But what we're going to tell you today is significantly faster, the adoption of fintech innovation. Dear our client, Finvolution, we do acknowledge that you are the leading fintech platform in China that connect the individual borrowers with the financial institutions. And as your consultants, we also understand your concerns to adapt to the changing regulations in China and to expand into other markets, especially Indonesia. So we are here today to help you to resolve these concerns. We are the extraordinary, proudly representing RMIT University of Vietnam. My name is Anh Thu, and joined by me today are my colleagues Trường Thịnh, Hoàng Hải, and Mi Hảo. So without further ado, I will pass my time on to my colleague, Thịnh.
So thank you, Thu. Now here's the agenda today, where we first look at the overview of the current situation, followed up by our analysis to identify the key issues, and then our two strategy and the evaluation to help your business overcome the current situation. So let's move on to the overview of the current situation. So as my colleague Thu has established, Finvolution is a leading fintech platform in China, and ever since its establishment in 2007, it has been fulfilling the mission of connecting underserved population to the financial institutions and ensure financial inclusion for all. So over the year, your portfolio has been diversified into B2C segment, where you provide financial services in the consumer lending, and the B2B segment, where you provide technology for the financial institutions. So you, Finvolution, had come to us with a question of how to refine your business model amid the changing regulation in China, and how to achieve international expansion into Southeast Asia market, and particularly Indonesia. So in order to answer this question, let's first move to the analysis and let's look at the new business model of your company. So because of the changing regulation in China, your business model have changed from the peer-to-peer model into the new business model, where you remove the individual investors from the lender side. So currently you connect individual borrowers with the licensed financial institution, and the individual borrowers need to have the bank card and also have to go through the credit score assessment system twice, one in your platform and one with the bank themselves. So we see that although the new business model were able to mitigate the risks that come with the regulation, it also decreased the accessibility and usability of your platform, in that it required the user to have bank account. So let's look into detail the current user journey within your platform to see where is your strengths. So currently, individual borrower will need to apply to your platform to make a loan, where the magic mirror risk control system will assess their risk and credit score based on your personal information, liabilities, etc. And then it will allocate you with the respective financial institution with the Magpie bridge system, and all the activities on the platform will be monitored in real time with the bright mirror technology, and all of the interaction between the individual borrowers and the financial institution is facilitated by the smart customer services, where it also able to facilitate the loan collection process. So overall, we see that your company core competencies lie within the comprehensive technology ecosystem from end to end. So with this strength and the newly licensed peer-to-peer lending in Indonesia, we see an opportunity for penetrating this new market. However, before coming into this new market, let's first look at the opportunities as well as threats compared to the China market. So although we see that Indonesia have a young and relatively large rural population similar to China, the key differences in Indonesia is the differing market conditions compared to China, in which only less than half of the population have access to bank account, and only 31% of the population have access to a smartphone, which can be a barrier to access your services through online channels. So to sum up our analysis, you, Finvolution, have come to us with a question of how to refine your business model amid the changing regulation in China, and how to achieve international expansion into Southeast Asia market, particularly Indonesia, in which we consultants have identified two challenges. The first one relies in the decreasing accessibility and usability of your platform because of the new business model in China. And the second one is the differing market conditions of Indonesia compared to China. And with that, our mission today is to first retain the current customer and sustain your market position within the China market, and also to penetrate the untapped potential and opportunities in Indonesia. And with that is our two strategy, the Excel strategy and the expand strategy. Now, Thu, my colleague, will elaborate on the Excel strategy.
Thank you, Thịnh. So in order to achieve Thịnh mentioned objective, to help Finvolution retain customers and sustain your market position, we propose to you the Excel strategy. This strategy based on the three main facts. Your business transformation, firstly, leads to the decreasing accessibility that Thịnh has mentioned and analyzed. And secondly, put your customer retention at risk. And thirdly, we acknowledge that your main borrowers are the young professionals from 20 years old. And according to our research, we drive out a very interesting insight that the young professionals are likely to experience the month-end cash crunch, and therefore the lack of credit score knowledge, and thus they need an easy line of credit, the instant cash loans. So based on these facts, we see a spacious room for you to create the advanced salary service to go with the personal loan, to create an ecosystem that can lock in your customers and acquire new users. Moving on, to implement this strategy, first, you need to form a trusted alliance of small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. So why SMEs? This is because the SMEs account for a staggering 70% of the workforce, especially the young workers. So they are highly relevant to your business. And once you have this alliance, you can offer the advanced salary service to the young employees of the SMEs. And these young employees have demand for cash loans, and they can already be your borrowers. However, they embrace the high probability of quitting your service due to the complicated assessment of the personal loans after your transformation. And imagine now, these young employees can have their SMEs as a guarantee, and they can now apply for the advanced salary for instant cash, which is more accessible and takes less time, and thus you can retain them as your customers. Moving on, a critical question is why the SMEs need to collaborate with you. We strongly believe that your advanced salary service can help the SMEs to monitor the employees, especially during the pandemic, without disrupting the cash flow of the company. And at the same time, you can help them to maintain the employee productivity and loyalty to the company better. And turning to the process, once the employees of the partner SMEs gain access to Finvolution, they can easily submit the early salary disbursements, and the whole process can take place totally digitally. So it is more accessible. For the pricing, based on benchmarking with the industry average, we recommend you to put up a 2% admin fee for each transaction. And lastly, we believe that you will not forget to implement the referral program where the employees are incentivized to get their acquaintances to your platform. So overall, this strategy is expected to help you to retain the customers even with low credit score with the advanced salary service, and also help you to acquire new users through the alliance of small and medium enterprises. This alliance even can pave the way for you for future business opportunities. And lastly, this strategy will help you to adapt to the changing regulations in China. And this can be said as the exemplary case study for you to set your foot in other markets. For example, the changing regulations in Indonesia. So next, my colleague Hai will present about the expand strategy to undertake this second objective.
Okay, thank you too. So in line with my college, Indonesia is a must-win battle, as this is a stepping stone for you to dominate C markets. You have won in China market thanks to your whole rounded financial solutions with the on channels that making everyone's convenience to access to your services. However, the landscape in Indonesia is totally different. Majority of the populations don't have access to the mobile phones, bank accounts. So also there's many players already in the market. So therefore, you should find a new way to make lending accessible for everyone. So we classify the customer into the two segments, the primary and secondary. Primary segments are people who have smart devices and a bank account. They're looking for the convenient experience. On the other hand, the second segment, they're living in rural area. They have no access to bank or the mobile phones. They also allow education segments. When they're trying to borrow money, they often look for options in the black market where the interest rate is extremely high and leading them to the property traps. Fully understand your visions, which suggests that you also target this segment. To penetrate in the market, we suggest you to partnership with a telecom service provider. Why telecom but not the other? Firstly, they have the established customer base. They also have the big offline channel that can help you to reach everyone, and also on their side they can gain revenue. So let's take a deeper look. So to target the first segment, we introduce to you the lending apps that they keep all of your unique selling point from China to Indonesia. This will make the experience of the customer become better and more convenient. For example, the Magic Mirror now collects the data not only from the third party, but also from your partner, the telecom. So you can assess a customer risk within a second. And also, what's special about our strategy is to have the people in the rural area. So we propose for, since we already have the partnerships, you have the access to all the centralized hub as the telecom service provider, such as the telecom hub or post office. So let me guide you through the customer journey as this market. So people, often they will call to you to ask for loans, and after that, you will guide them to the closest hub they can find. So they would bring their ID cards and household book with them to get a loan. And in order for them to pay back easily, you can charge them on their phones, or they can bring the money to your office to pay back. So what do we expect from our strategy? So our strategy, we are emphasizing that Finvolution, they can penetrate new markets. They can utilize and keep all the competitive advantage that they want in China to the market. And for the partner, they have a new revenue streams, and customer now they have the access to the financial services. So let's get into the evaluation part presented by Hao to see how our strategy works.
Thank you, Hai. So with our foresight and critical examination, we would like to identify three major risks pertaining to our two strategies. The first risk that we need to tackle is the rising operating costs from the new business model where we source funding from the institutional fund partners and lend it to the borrowers. And this risk can be hedged by hiring the consulting firm to roll out the restructure process for us. And the second risk lies around the COVID-19, increasing the default risk from our borrowers, which can be mitigated by allocating more funding to the R&D process to improve our technology for credit rating and assessment. And the last risk that we should take into consideration is the failure to strategically partnership with the telecommunication companies in Indonesia, which can be hedged by seeking partnership with the e-commerce companies. And moving on, we would like to roll out the 5-year plan for our strategies. Regarding the Excel strategy, you should establish a trusted alliance with SMEs, which is the successful factor lies around the quantity of SMEs involved in your network. Therefore, to achieve your target, we recommend you should reach at least 50 SMEs partners by 2022. And by leveraging this alliances network, you will offer the salary advance facility for your employees of the SMEs and within your network to serve those who have low credit score. And in terms of the expand strategy, we would like to recommend you should prioritize the Indonesia market due to the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak may cause some more risk for you. And from here, you need to seek partnership with the telecommunication firms to offer the peer-to-peer lending services via their mobile payment app. And moreover, you can also provide a technology as a service to the B2B partners, customers, especially the banks and the financial institutions. Now, moving on. So as your consultant, we want to make sure that our strategies are financially beneficial to you. So in terms of the revenue driver, we assume that by retaining the current customers and also capture new customers, not only from China, but also in the international markets like Indonesia, Finvolution can accomplish the strong growth in your revenue and customer base with a KR of 46.9%. And in terms of your cost driver, as your average operating cost margin is 62% for years, so we assume that this rate will fix in the future. Yet the cost structure of you in the future is as follows. So from the total cost of 14 billion yen in 2023, so 40% will go to the marketing, which will play an important role to acquire new users when you expand to the Asia Pacific markets, and 20% will go to the cost of expansion to Indonesia when you need to roll out and capture this market. And in the future, you also need to capture other Asia Pacific countries. And another cost is from the service expense as well as your cost of sales, which account for 30% of the total cost, and the rest will go to the selling, general, and administration. So moving on. So dear our client, Finvolution, we do acknowledge that your bottleneck lies around how to refine your business model to adapt to the regulatory changes and the decreasing accessibility to your services in China, as well as how to accomplish the international expansion. So with the implementation of our Excel and Expand strategy, we strongly believe that you can drive up your sales and also enjoy the increasing customer base and retention towards your services, thereby driving up your global presence and market shares in the fintech lending market. And more importantly, Finvolution can also benefit its stakeholders, like the strategies can help the customers and SMEs increase its level of inclusion. And as a whole, the benefit can also you provide to the whole lending market with more transparency and accurate credit assessment. And this is the end of our presentation. Now the floor is open for the Q&A session.
Thank you. It's now time for the Q&A session. The 15 minutes countdown starts now. Let's hear the first question.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation in terms of differential treatment of how we want to take the Chinese market and how you want to take the international market. It's an interesting analogy about excel and expand. I had two questions, please. Number one is in terms of the approach towards the market. What you're suggesting is a push strategy, be it in terms of advanced salary or tying up in telecom markets and so on, right? Have you thought about who are the customers going to be? Who is going to come and borrow money from you? What is that profile of the customers going to look like? And if you can clarify that, please. The second question is, if you talk about the alliances with SMEs and so on, the majority of the cost in your expansion model is meant for marketing. But if you go back to the fundamentals of your the company itself, it has been less in marketing and helping the customers who are not having banking access. The expense is more towards the marketing effort rather than helping the customer effort. If you can clarify these two things, please. Thank you.
So thank you for your questions. So in order to answer the first question to the customer profile of our current platform, we would like to elaborate that the current customer profile of our platform, especially in China, is those customers who are aged between 20 to 40. So they are young professionals and usually have a high demand for lending the money for daily consumption and also for the upskilling and entrepreneurship of theirs. And that's why that is also one of the key reasons why we want to partner and target the SMEs, the small and medium enterprises who contribute to the 2/3, who are usually 2/3 who are employing 2/3 of the young professional market. And for your second questions regarding the marketing costs, I would like to rephrase the question is that because we are spending 40% on marketing instead of helping our actual user, and you would want to us to clarify the 40% of the marketing costs, right?
So so I would like to elaborate more on the assumption behind the marketing costs. So in this 40%, we do acknowledge that in the past you not spend more money on the marketing because you are already the leader in the China market. However, when you enter and expand to other Asia Pacific markets, and you are completely new in this new market, therefore we strongly believe that the marketing cost for the new market will increase your marketing cost, and it will also sum with the current marketing cost in the China market. So that's why we make the assumption that your marketing cost will increase to 40%. This will take most of your proportion in the cost structure. Thank you so much for your question, and I hope that this will address your question.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is a very informative presentation. Thanks a lot. So you have been spending quite a bit of time explaining your business model in China, what is the strength and how do you make it work. So this is about the expansion into the region. So which one part of your business model or strength you felt is most relevant for your regional expansions, and which one potentially needs to be the most adjusted for to tailor for the individual country characteristics?
Thank you for your question. In order to let me try to rephrase your question to see if we got the question right. So you are asking which strengths of the company is the most relevant when penetrating into other markets, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for your question. So in order to answer this question, I would like to elaborate more on the core competencies we have identified in the analysis, in that the current Finvolution have a great competencies in the technology, the proprietary technologies of the firms. So we see that they have the technology throughout the customer journey within the platform, from when they apply and then to the customer service itself. So we think that by leveraging on these technology, we will have a very huge advantage when penetrating into other regions, specifically in Indonesia, because we also see that currently in Indonesia, there are some players within the space of consumer lending. However, we believe that with the proprietary technology of Finvolution, we were able to collaborate with telecom service provider and utilize the data they have on the customer base in order for our expansion. And we believe that with this core competency, it is also scalable when considering expanding into other markets other than Indonesia, for example, the Vietnam, Philippines, or Singapore. I hope that answer your questions.
And maybe the second part of my question is like, which parts do you feel that you need the biggest adjustment?
Which part? Can you?
Which part of the you have run a successful like a business in China, but like as you imagine, like every country is like different. So the case is you talk about the things that you can replicate from China to other markets, but like, do you see any particular area that you need to work on that is like, in particular, for example, tailored for like Indonesia or any of the other markets?
Yes. So we see we also identify one of the key difference with the compared to other regional market in Southeast Asia is the market condition, and specifically in terms of the bank as access of the population and also the smartphone access. So currently, one of the reason we are so successful in China is that we are offering the our services through online channels, which the population of China is used to. But however, the situation is very different from the situation is very different in other regional Southeast Asian market, and specifically for Indonesia. And because of this, our strategy when penetrating into regional markets in Southeast Asia is through partnership, and especially through partnership with telecommunication service provider, in order for us to acquire and reach most of the population without having to depend on the penetration of smartphones and banking of that country.
So in order to add on to my colleague, I want to amplify that, for example, for Indonesia, the major difference is, for example, in China, there can be 100 million users of smartphones, but in Indonesia, they are just 83 million, which is a large, much smaller number compared to China. And this number is the same with the bank accounts. In China, 80% of people have bank accounts. While in Indonesia, there are less than 50% of the population have bank accounts. And Indonesia, they have the very archaeology topography, which leads to the low internet connectivity. So it means that even when they have the internet penetration, the internet latency can make the transition, the digital transition, not seamlessly, and this leads to a lot of difficulty in customer experience. And therefore, when penetrating into the Indonesia market, we propose you to collaborate with telecommunications and to take advantage of their strength, their capacity in terms of internet connection, and also their network, so that you can increase the accessibility to the consumers there. So I hope that this can answer your questions.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, my turn. Thanks a lot for the very interesting presentation. I like that you've got your own team name as well. Okay, my question is, you chose to partner with telecommunication. So I would like to know, why do you think the telecom, they are a better partner than e-commerce? Why do you think they are better fit to your competency?
Yes, so I would love to address your questions. So the telecom, we believe, is better than the e-commerce because we are trying to, our objective of when penetrate in this market is to make financial service accessible for everyone. So no matter if you are access to the internet or not, you are able to, you can have the financial services. So when you partnership with the telecom service provider, they already have the established side of the channels. They are everywhere. So we believe that in any islands, there would be a post office where people often go to that place. So telecom partner would be the most suitable for our strategy rather than just the e-commerce where they always serve people who access to internet and smartphone.
And also, in order to add on to my colleague, we want to mention that actually we do consider e-commerce players in our thought process. However, when we're accessing the players in the market, we know that, for example, the prominent player, the Tokopedia, they already have the fintech subsidiary, and we believe that the e-commerce players in this market have a tendency to take a look and to expand their business into the fintech segment, which when you enter into the market can have the conflict of interest to these companies. So we believe that the e-commerce companies are not the priority choice, and telecom companies are more suitable for your penetration.
And I would also like to add to my colleagues' answers is that we understand your mission as a company to provide financial inclusion for all people. And therefore, we have seen a lot of case studies, and especially here in Vietnam, where a telecom communication service provider, Viettel, who also owns a network of post offices, were able to provide our population of 90 million people to have access to the consumer lending services. And we believe that by partnering with the telecommunication service provider, it will help us as a company to amplify our mission of providing financial inclusion for all. And thank you for your question. And I hope our answers address your concerns.
Okay, thanks. It does address why you picked telecom. But then another follow-up question is, since there are already many fintech already established in Indonesia, how do you think, or what strategy you want to put in place to beat the competition?
So thank you so much for your question. We do acknowledge that there is a competitive market in the Indonesia fintech market. So when we roll out our expand strategy, aside from offer the P2P lending for the end consumers, we also consider to offer the technology as a service to the institutions like banks and financial institutions for them, in order to help them to better their credit scoring and risk assessment, so that they're gonna have more data and also help the fintech market in their more transparent. And with the technology that we already have as our competitive advantage, we can also provide this technology to many other financial companies, so that we can expand and stay at our competitive advantage too.
So actually, when we look at the competition, we identify that the most prominent players in this market are just those, for example, the Coinworks, who tackle be
time is out. Yeah,
oh,
time is out. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you for the answer. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thank you
so
all. The
much.
judges will now stay in the room to deliberate. Students, we will place you back to the waiting room and bring you back in the feedback session in 8 minutes. Everyone
Thank you.
else, please kindly leave the room and we will see you later for the results announcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.